Welcome, everyone. We're thrilled to have you join us today as we delve into the exciting world of the D2L Outcomes Tool, or as what we like to call it, D2L Standards, a game changer in enhancing assessment practices. Our journey today will take us through the benefits of the D2L Standards tool, the transition from Digication to D2L Standards, the power of other D2L assessments tools, and the magic of D2L analytics for data gathering. I'm Lori Zalivansky, your guide on this journey. I am a system administrator and instructional technology consultant at DePaul University's Center for Teaching and Learning.
And I'm Carolyn Voss, or Carrie. I'll be your co-pilot on this adventure. I'm the Assistant Director of Instructional Technology and Data Strategy, also at DePaul University, and we're both super excited to talk about these topics with you.
Picture a classroom where every student's progress is not just measured, but truly understood. Today, we embark on a transformative journey with D2L Standards, where learning outcomes become pathways to meaningful assessment and enhanced student achievement. Let's discover how innovative technology is reshaping assessment practices in our College of Education and beyond. So let's kick things off with an introduction to the powerful D2L Standards tool. D2L Standards is a tool that aligns learning outcomes with achievement tracking, creating a seamless connection between learning and assessment. At the org level, this tool enables the definition of scales for measuring achievement, providing a clear framework for success. So here we have a scale that we created for the College of Education. At the program level, you can import or create outcomes that can be shared across courses, fostering consistency and alignment. For the College of Education, we have a bunch of standards and we have two levels, the top level, and then underneath are the actual standards that we import into courses. And at the course level, you can import or create new outcomes that can be aligned with assignments, quiz questions, discussion topics, or rubrics, ensuring a comprehensive approach to assessment. Here we have an example of an assignment where we've attached a couple of standards, what we like to call in our version of D2L submissions. So what makes D2L standards so beneficial? So we primarily use this tool within our College of Education to assess state and national level standards required for accreditation. Initially, we used Digication, an e-portfolio tool adapted into a standards assessment tool. However, Digication operates outside of D2L, resulting in a lack of alignment between assessments completed within D2L and the standards assessed in Digication. This also means that faculty assess standards at the end of the quarter, just before final grades need to be submitted, rather than throughout the quarter as students are submitting in work. D2L standards now allow us to directly associate program-level standards with assignments in D2L courses. This integration enables faculty to assess standards in real time as they grade students' work. This brings us to our next topic, the transition from Digication to D2L standards.
So our transition project really had 5 main goals. First, we had to update the program standards. They hadn't really been reviewed and checked for accuracy for several years. Then we encourage faculty to create those evidence-based assessments rather than just using that kind of like one-size-fits-all approach that they had been really used to with Digication. This helped us with our third goal of aligning the assignments with the standards. So although this was like a very initially like labor-intensive process, the fourth goal of reducing the workload really does come to play here after kind of that big main setup. So the workload itself does get reduced quite a bit because we're able to leverage D2L standards, which means that by those course copies, we're not having to reset up everything every time. This made the labor required by both faculty and staff in our office quite a bit lower and much more manageable term to term. Our last big thing was we really wanted to have some sort of robust reporting system within D2L that would provide both us, the colleges, and administrators in those spaces with valuable insights. So guided by these goals, we kind of sought out adventurous faculty who are willing to pilot this new tool alongside us. Once we had those pioneers on board, we were able to build an achievement scale, integrate those program standards, and kind of fine-tune some of those system settings. We spent a number of quarters testing it, and we eventually expanded those transitions out kind of program by program throughout the college. And as of this spring, we have over half of the 13 College of Ed programs using D2L standards. With this growing adoption, I've established some reporting using D2L's analytics tools to ensure that the stakeholders have that necessary data they need for accreditation at the quarter's end. That helps both the unit and the university at large in reporting. So after several quarters, as we mentioned, of doing this transition of faculty from our old system to using D2L standards, we've learned a lot of things that we would do differently in retrospect if we were doing this again. One of our first big challenges was not defining well our pilot parameters and the expectations that we had of our faculty. So really setting up those expectations that you have for those who are joining you on the pilot process is going to be key. We faced a lot of that challenges when our faculty wouldn't fully commit, or getting admin on board was really challenging. Makes that really hard to do that transition if you don't have that enthusiasm to try it. We also didn't really have a lot of great stakeholders. So without a stakeholder to help kind of enforce that transition, it's really hard to get people on board, to get people excited to try and use a new system. So this led us to encountering a number of different roadblocks, like getting updated standards from program directors because no one was encouraging them to do stuff more, which then made us think about defining roles. So make sure we had an idea of who was going to be responsible for which aspects of the project, who's responsible for which data getting updated, or which standards still need to be used, or the language that should be in those. It's hard for us to take on those roles, even though they often want us to, because we're not the subject matter experts. Once we were able to get that accuracy of information up a bit more, ensuring that we had what we needed, it got a lot easier. So one of our biggest things kind of threading through all of these is have these early on. Don't try and claw your way through them at the end. And we'll take the information provided. So whatever they're going to give us, that's what we're going to trust. So making sure that they're on board early and making sure that they're giving you the right information at the start is going to be the key to success really here.
Despite some hurdles, this transition has been a game changer for the College of Education. We have some testimonials from faculty who are thrilled with the move from education to D2L standards. So first one is from Barbara Rykoff, who is an associate dean and professor at College of Education, shared that she appreciates assessing the leadership standards in real time as the assignments are completed rather than assessing all of the standards at the end of the quarter. Sister Mary Paul, senior professional lecturer, told us that the immediate inclusion of the standards with the assessment provided clarity for students, allowing more relevant standard-based discussions. And Melissa Bradford, another professional lecturer, told us that being able to incorporate standards directly into D2L saved her a lot of time and extra busy work. But with the good comes with the bad. During the transition, we did encounter some limitations, both internal and technology-wise, that we had to create workarounds for if we could. While we faced several limitations, the key one we want to highlight is assessing disposition. So disposition is another type of, I wouldn't say standard, but something else that the College of Education has to take into account with their, educators that they're teaching. Dispositions help determine if students' attitudes and conduct are developed enough for their chosen field. Unlike education, D2L standards doesn't allow bulk assessment, and being able to bulk assess dispositions was a must in order to get this transition going. Initially, we used D2L's attendance tool for bulk assessment since it has the set status for all users function, which basically mimics assessing everything in bulk. But it lacked a key feature, which is comments. So if faculty have to assess a student saying they didn't do well for a specific disposition, they are required to give a reason why. So that made us have to think, what else can we use? Which is why we turned to the Gradebook. It has the exact same bulk assessment feature, but it also has an internal feedback feature that we can pull in reporting. And we have been using for the last few quarters, and it seems to be working really well.
Now, the one thing that really drew us to using D2L standards was really the robust options for reporting that it held and the analysis options we had at our hands. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, this was one of our primary goals of the project. We needed to simplify the reporting process that the college has to use both to report to the university for the university's accreditation, as well as to the State Board of Education for their own program accreditation. Now, early on, we were given beta access to the Outcomes Achievement Dashboard, part of D2L's Insight dashboards. In our initial testing of the tool, we ran into a few issues of kind of usability and functionality. So first big kind of issue we ran into is that there's a setting that has to get turned on in each course that allows those assessed standards to be visualized here on the dashboard. We didn't realize that until we'd already started assessing for the term. So not all of our courses got that setting enabled, which means the data that we were able to see was really only partial. Once a course has started assessing, it gets locked. So we weren't able to get everything we wanted into there. Now, one of the nice things here is that you can filter by both programs and semesters. So I could filter this to see our College of Business or our College of Education and look at their standard sets. However, that's as deep as the hierarchy goes. You can't drill into those standards any deeper. You can only drill into that kind of second level of standards. For a forest level view, this is really okay. We're able to kind of see what we need to see at that high level. But what doesn't let us get into that kind of focused specific standard view, which is really kind of what we were hoping for out of this tool. Last, there's no way to visualize how this aligns or changes across different courses, departments, or sections. So this is kind of as deep as this data can go, and you can't quite fine tune it down to a specific course or even a specific program. That's okay for our needs at the moment, but it's something we kind of had hoped for in thinking long-term for reporting for the university. Now, one very important piece to note here, this dashboard is still in its beta release. Essentially, D2L is still in progress of updating and modifying and taking feedback on these visuals to increase its usability, both for instructors and for administrators like us. I've met with D2L a few times, provided feedback on the different issues that I've identified for us. And I gotta be honest, it's always exciting and it's an honor to work with these beta versions so that the voice of administrators and the voice of faculty do get a chance to be part of its development. So while we're waiting on some of these updates to happen and while we're waiting for this to come out as a wide release, we also did take the time to create some dashboards inside of Domo that help us to kind of bridge those gaps that we've identified here. Now, one thing to note here, we are in the process of migrating from D2L's previous analytics solution, which is called Domo, to their new solution, Amazon QuickSight or AWS QuickSight. As part of the transition, D2L is migrating all of our existing queries and visualizations over kind of throughout the summer here of summer 2024. In part because the query to build this was so complex in the original build that I made it in Domo, and in part just for the sake of time, I have not yet recreated these queries or these visuals inside of our new system. However, the kind of like the foundational elements of the queries will remain the same. They're just going to look a little bit different on top. So the visuals you're going to see are from Domo, but in the future will be built in AWS. So our first visual here lets us kind of see a similar view to that outcomes achievement dashboard. But instead of using that kind of dichotomy of met versus not met, which belongs to that setting in the course, this lets us see the individual levels of achievement aggregated for each standard grouping. Our visual is also filterable by term and course, so it is possible to see not only just a given term at one point, but also see, just show me all the courses that belong to the counseling program. Lets us get a little bit of that nuance that we had really hoped for. So the beauty of this last visual is that it has those drill-in features that we had really wanted out of the outcomes achievement dashboard. So here you can see a GIF of us drilling kind of through the dashboard. So we started with an achievement set, the science education national standards, and then we're able to kind of drill in to view a specific standards, in this case, the NCSS 5B standard. Then we can see the breakdown really clearly of how students were doing on each of those levels. These two visualizations are what I'm calling our cornerstone visualizations for our standards, meaning that any college or school that we work with to set up standards for will have access to these two visuals, in addition to any others that they might have requests for specifically.
That's a wrap, everyone. Thank you all for joining us on this journey through the transformative world of D2L standards. We explored its benefits, the transition from education, and the power it holds for reshaping assessment practices. We've heard from faculty who have embraced this change and seen the positive impact it has had on their teaching and assessment practices. While we've encountered some challenges along the way, we've learned valuable lessons and found innovative solutions. The journey is ongoing, and we're excited about the potential of D2L standards to further enhance our College of Education and beyond. We're currently actually looking to use this with our College of Business as well, so we're excited, and they're excited as well, on how it can transform their assessment practices. Remember, the power of D2L standards lies not just in the ability to track achievement, but also in its potential to truly understand each student's progress. As we continue to adapt and grow with this tool, we look forward to seeing how it will further transform our teaching and learning experiences. Again, thank you again for being here with us on this journey. As we wrap up the session, we encourage you to stay connected with us. If you wish to reach out to either myself or Carrie, please feel free to email us. We've also created a set of resources for your reference. This includes the PowerPoint presentation from today's session, the transcript of our discussion, and the blueprint we used with our faculty during that transition in the very beginning with our pilot users from Digication to DJs, which really helped them think about the alignment piece of the transition. Again, thank you again for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.